The great hall of the Stellari Council fell silent as Ambassador Trell walked to the center of the room. His blue skin looked pale under the soft lights, and his forearms trembled slightly. Everyone knew that something was very wrong. "Honorable members of the council," Trell said, his voice steady despite his fear. "I bring terrible news. Our deep space observers have detected a massive asteroid cluster on a direct path to our homeworld." The room filled with whispers. An elder Stellari, named Mora, stood up. "How much time do we have?" 42 days, Trell answered. The whispers turned to cries of alarm. The Stellari were an old species. For thousands of years they had focused on art, music, and learning to live in perfect harmony with their world. They had built beautiful cities that blended with the natural landscape. They had solved hunger, disease, and conflict among their kind. But in all that time they had never needed to defend themselves from a threat like this. "What can we do?" asked Mora. "Our ships are not made for such tasks. We have no weapons that could destroy objects of that size." Trell looked down at the floor. "That is why I have called this meeting. I propose we use the ancient beacon." The room went completely silent. The ancient beacon was a powerful communication device left by the founders, the mysterious beings who had helped many species across the galaxy take their first steps into space. The beacon could send messages across vast distances almost instantly, but the Stellari had never used it, believing that contact with less advanced species should happen naturally when both sides were ready. "We cannot," shouted one council member. "The beacon might reach primitive worlds. It goes against all our principles." "Our principles will not matter if our world is destroyed," Trell replied calmly. "I have studied the star maps. There is one world within range that might help us, a planet called Earth." The oldest member of the council, Master Vel, shook his head. "Earth? I reviewed reports about that planet a century ago. They were still burning fossil fuels and fighting among themselves. They are nowhere near ready for contact." "That report is outdated," Trell said. "Our latest observations show they have advanced quickly. They have begun to explore their own solar system. And most importantly, they understand the concept of defense. They know how to fight." "That is precisely why we should not contact them," said another council member. "A species that still resorts to violence cannot be trusted." Trell spread his forearms wide. "Then what do you suggest? Shall we sit here and meditate while our world is destroyed? Sometimes we need those who remember how to fight." After hours of debate, the council finally agreed. With heavy hearts, they authorized the use of the ancient beacon. Trell worked with the Stellari's best scientists to craft a simple message, in basic mathematical code that even Earth's primitive computers could understand. It contained their location, the nature of the threat, and a desperate plea for help. As the message shot across the stars, Trell looked out at the night sky. "I hope we have made the right choice," he whispered. Captain James Walker was finishing his coffee in the control room of Earth Defense Force Station Omega when the alert sounded. A technician named Rogers called him over. "Sir, you need to see this. We're picking up some kind of signal. It's not one of ours." Walker leaned over the console. The signal was unlike anything he had seen before. It pulsed in a clear pattern that couldn't be natural. "Where's it coming from?" Walker asked. Rogers pointed to a star map. "Somewhere in that region about 40 light-years away, but sir, the weird thing is that the signal arrived instantly. That's not possible with our understanding of physics." Walker's heart raced. After years of searching the stars for signs of intelligent life, this could be it. Actual first contact. "Get the decryption team on this now," he ordered. "And call Director Green. We need to move fast." Within hours, the best minds on Earth were working on the signal. They quickly realized it contained mathematical constants that would be universal to any advanced civilization: the value of pi, the speed of light, atomic numbers of common elements. Using these as a key, they began to unlock the rest of the message. Director Anna Green arrived at the station just as the team made their breakthrough. She was a tall, stern woman who had led the Earth Defense Force since its creation 15 years ago. What do we have, Captain? She asked. Walker handed her a tablet. It's a distress call, ma'am, from a species called the Stellari. Their planet is in danger from an asteroid cluster, and they don't have the technology to stop it. Green's eyebrows rose. They can send signals that travel faster than light, but they can't deflect asteroids? Apparently not. According to this, they're an extremely peaceful civilization. They've never developed weapons or defense systems. Green looked thoughtful. And they've reached out to us specifically? Yes, ma'am. Somehow they know about Earth. They're asking for our help because because we still know how to fight. For the next 2 days, the highest levels of Earth's government debated what to do. Some argued that this could be a trick, a way to lure Earth ships into a trap. Others pointed out that even if the message was genuine, revealing Earth's location to unknown aliens could be dangerous. But in the end, one argument won out. If humanity ignored a cry for help from another intelligent species, what would that say about who they were? Green called Walker to her office to deliver the decision. The mission is approved, she said. We're sending our 3 newest ships, the Defender, the Guardian, and the Protector. You'll command the Defender as mission leader. Walker's pulse quickened. When do we leave? Immediately. According to their message, we have just over a month before impact. Even with our best FTL drives, it'll take 2 weeks to reach them. Walker stood straight. We'll be ready, ma'am. Captain, Green said as he turned to leave. Do you understand what this means? We're about to meet aliens for the first time. Real, living aliens. Walker nodded. And we're going to save them. As Walker left to prepare his crew, he couldn't help but smile. Humanity had always looked to the stars and wondered if they were alone. Now they knew they weren't. And their first act in the galactic community would be to help a civilization in need. The mission to save the Stellari had begun. The EDF Defender hummed with activity as the crew made final preparations for humanity's first interstellar rescue mission. Captain Walker strode through the corridors, checking systems and speaking with his team. Everyone felt the weight of their task. They would represent Earth to an alien civilization for the first time. How's the engine room, Reed? Walker asked through his communicator. Marcus Reed, the ship's chief engineer, wiped sweat from his forehead as he calibrated the FTL drive. At 52, he was the oldest member of the crew, with gray hair and hands that showed years of hard work. Almost ready, Captain, Reed replied. These new drives are powerful, but tricky. We'll be pushing them to their limits to reach the Stellari in time. Walker nodded. Do what you can. We need every bit of speed we can get. In another part of the ship, Linda Ross checked her demolition equipment. She had spent 15 years as an asteroid miner before joining the Earth Defense Force, and no one knew more about breaking up space rocks. Think they'll have good food, these Stella whatevers? Asked Tom Wilson, her assistant. Ross shrugged. We might not be able to eat their food at all. Different biology and all that. That's why we're bringing 6 months of supplies for a 3-week mission. As the ship prepared to depart, Director Green addressed the 3 captains from Mission Control. This is humanity's most important moment, she said, her face serious on the video screen. You're not just representing the Earth Defense Force or even your countries. You're representing all of humanity. Make us proud. The 3 ships lifted off from Earth's moon base and accelerated toward the edge of the solar system. Once clear, they engaged their FTL drives, disappearing in flashes of blue light. On the Stellari homeworld, Ambassador Trell paced nervously in the communication center. It had been 7 days since they sent their message, and there had been no response. Perhaps they didn't receive it, said his assistant Mira. Or maybe they chose not to answer. We must have faith, Trell replied, though his voice betrayed his doubt. The Founder's beacon cannot fail. If Earth received our message, they will come. Just then the communication system chimed. A message had arrived, sent through the same channel as the beacon. We received your distress call. Earth Defense Force ships Defender, Guardian, and Protector en route. Estimated arrival in 8 days. Please provide orbital coordinates for rendezvous. Message ends. The room erupted in joy and relief. The Stellari technicians hugged each other with all 4 arms. their blue skin flushing purple with emotion. "They're coming?" Trell exclaimed. "They heard us and they're coming." When he reported to the council, however, the reaction was mixed. Many were grateful for Earth's response, but others worried about what it might mean to invite armed ships from a warrior species to their home. "What do we really know about these humans?" asked Council Member Dren. "We're bringing them here based on old observations. What if they've grown more violent, not less?" Master Vel, who had opposed using the beacon, now spoke in favor of the humans. "They answered our call when they had no obligation to do so. That speaks well of their character. We must trust them, for we have no other choice." The journey was difficult for the human crews. FTL travel had never been attempted over such a long distance before, and the ship systems were strained to their limits. Reed and his engineering team worked around the clock to keep the drives functioning. During the flight, Walker gathered his senior officers to discuss what they knew about the Stellari. "They've never developed weapons or defensive systems," he explained. "Their society is built around art, knowledge, and harmony. They're physically different from us, blue-skinned with 4 arms, but they breathe a similar atmosphere." "If they're so advanced, why can't they handle a few asteroids?" asked Ross. "Advanced doesn't always mean practical," Walker replied. "Their ships are beautiful, but they're designed for exploration and scientific study, not for mining or combat. They've never needed to defend themselves before." On the 8th day of their journey, the 3 Earth ships dropped out of FTL at the coordinates provided by the Stellari. A beautiful blue-green planet lay before them, surrounded by elegant structures that gleamed in the light of a yellow sun. 3 Stellari vessels approached. Unlike the practical, robust design of the Earth ships, these were graceful and artistic, looking more like flying sculptures than spacecraft. "EDF Defender to Stellari vessels," Walker broadcast. "We are here in response to your distress call." There was a pause, then a reply came in perfect English. "Human vessels, this is Ambassador Trell of the Stellari. Your arrival brings us great joy and hope. Please follow our ships to our orbital station." The human ships followed the Stellari to a massive ring-shaped station that orbited the planet. As they docked, Walker prepared his team for first contact. "Remember, your training," he told them. "Be respectful but honest. We're here to help, not to impress them with how advanced we think we are." When the airlock doors opened, Walker led a small group to meet the Stellari delegation. Ambassador Trell stepped forward, his 4 arms held wide in a greeting gesture. He was taller than any human, with delicate features and large, expressive eyes. "Captain Walker," Trell said with a slight bow. "On behalf of all Stellari, I welcome you to our world." Walker returned the bow. "Thank you, Ambassador. We came as quickly as we could." The humans and Stellari exchanged formal greetings, but the mood was tense. The Stellari seemed both grateful and nervous, while the humans tried to hide their amazement at meeting actual aliens. Finally, Walker asked the critical question, "Can you show us the data on the asteroid cluster? We need to see what we're dealing with." Trell nodded and led them to a large room with a 3-dimensional display. What the humans saw made them freeze in shock. The cluster wasn't just a few large rocks. It was hundreds of asteroids, some as large as small moons, all headed directly for the Stellari homeworld. "That's not natural," Reed whispered to Walker. "Asteroids don't move in formation like that." Walker looked at Trell, whose alien face showed clear distress. "Ambassador, I have to ask, is there someone who might want to harm your people?" Trell's eyes widened. "What do you mean? The asteroids are a natural disaster." Walker pointed to the display. "No, they're not. Someone is directing these asteroids. This is an attack." The Stellari looked at each other in confusion and fear. The concept of one species deliberately harming another was almost unthinkable to them. "Who would do such a thing?" Trell asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "That," said Walker grimly, "is what we need to find out. And fast." The Stellari Council chamber was filled with tension as Captain Walker presented his findings. The elegant blue aliens sat in stunned silence as the human explained what his team had discovered. "These asteroids have been deliberately placed on A collision course with your planet, Walker said, pointing to the holographic display. Look at the pattern. It's too perfect to be natural. And we've detected small energy signatures on several of the largest rocks. Ambassador Trell's hands trembled. But who would do this and why? We don't know yet, Walker admitted. But we have 2 weeks to find out and stop them. Master Vel, the oldest Stellari, leaned forward. What do you propose, Captain? Walker nodded to Reed, who stepped up to the display. The engineer's face was serious as he explained their plan. We need to do 2 things, Reed said. First, we must redirect the smaller asteroids. Second, we need to break up the larger ones that can't be moved in time. And how will you accomplish this? Asked Vel. Ross spoke up. For the big ones, we'll use nuclear charges placed at key points. The word nuclear caused immediate unrest among the Stellari. They began speaking in their own language, their voices rising. Trell raised all 4 hands for quiet. Nuclear weapons? We cannot allow such destructive forces to be used near our world. Walker understood their concern. These are precision devices, Ambassador. We're not talking about weapons of mass destruction. These charges are designed specifically for breaking up space objects. There must be another way, Trell insisted. There isn't, Walker said firmly. Not with the time we have. But we do need your help for the second part of our plan. He nodded to Reed again, who changed the display to show a complex device. This is a gravity tether, Reed explained. It creates a focused gravitational field that can slowly pull smaller asteroids off course. We can build these using parts from our ships and your technology. A female Stellari stood up from among the council members. She was younger than most, with darker blue skin and intelligent eyes. How many of these devices would we need? She asked. At least 20, Reed answered, and we'd need to deploy them within the next 10 days. The female Stellari nodded. My name is Elia. I lead our scientific research team. We can help build these devices. Trell looked surprised. Elia, you cannot seriously be considering helping them use weapons. The gravity tethers are not weapons, Elia countered, and if the humans are right, we have no choice but to trust them. After hours of debate, the Stellari finally agreed to the plan, though many remained uncomfortable with the nuclear charges. Walker wasted no time in organizing the joint effort. Reed worked with Elia and her team to begin construction of the gravity tethers. The human engineers were impressed by the Stellari's advanced materials and precision manufacturing. Your technology is amazing, Reed told Elia as they worked. I've never seen alloys this strong and light. We have focused on creation rather than destruction, Elia replied. Our ships are designed to explore and learn, not to fight. Reed nodded thoughtfully. Sometimes the same technology can do both. It depends on how you use it. Meanwhile, Ross prepared the nuclear charges with her team. The Stellari avoided the section of the station where this work was happening, their cultural aversion to weapons making them uncomfortable even being near the devices. Walker spent his time studying the asteroid pattern more carefully. Something about it seemed familiar, like a tactic he had seen before. He requested access to Stellari records of other species they had encountered. Captain, I think I found something, reported Wilson, who was helping Walker. There's a record here of a species called the Vorn. The Stellari encountered them about 50 years ago but have had little contact since. Walker read the report and felt a chill. The Vorn were described as an aggressive, predatory species that valued strength above all else. Their ships were heavily armed and they controlled several planetary systems. This fits, Walker said. The asteroids are positioned like a siege weapon. The Vorn are testing the Stellari's defenses, or lack of them. He brought his findings to Trell and the Council. We believe the Vorn are behind this attack. They're probably watching to see how you respond. Trell looked confused. But why would they do this? We have no quarrel with the Vorn. We've respected their territory. Predators don't need a reason, Walker explained. They see your lack of defenses as weakness, and weakness as an invitation. They probably want your resources, your technology, maybe even your planet. The Stellari were shocked by this explanation. Their society was built on cooperation and mutual benefit. The idea of attacking others for gain was deeply alien to them. "If you're right," said Master Vel, "what does this mean for our plan?" "It means we need to be ready for a direct confrontation," Walker replied. "The Vorn are likely hiding among the asteroids, waiting to see if you surrender or try to flee. When we start moving asteroids and planting charges, they'll know someone is helping you." This news created even more concern among the council. Trell pulled Walker aside after the meeting. "Captain, my people are not prepared for war," he said quietly. "We have never faced such a threat before." Walker placed a hand on the ambassador's shoulder. A bold gesture given their short acquaintance, but one that felt necessary. "You don't need to be prepared for war," he said. "That's why we're here." As the humans and Stellari worked together over the next few days, they began to learn from each other. The humans were impressed by the Stellari's artistic and scientific achievements, while the Stellari were amazed by the humans' practical ingenuity and determination. Elia worked closely with Reed, combining her theoretical knowledge with his practical experience. Together they improved the design of the gravity tethers, making them more powerful than Reed had initially thought possible. "Your people build beautiful things," Reed told her as they tested a prototype. "But sometimes, you need something that's just effective even if it's not pretty." Elia considered this. "Perhaps there is wisdom in both approaches. Beauty without function is empty, but function without beauty is sad." Reed laughed. "I never thought of it that way. Maybe that's why we needed to meet each other." By the end of the week, 10 gravity tethers were ready and Ross had prepared 15 nuclear charges. It was time to begin the mission. The 3 human ships would deploy the tethers to the outer asteroids while teams of specialists would plant the charges on the largest rocks. As they made final preparations, Walker addressed the mixed human and Stellari crews. "We have one chance to save this planet," he said. "Each of us must do our part. We come from different worlds with different values and histories, but today we fight for the same thing: survival." The mission was about to begin, but Walker couldn't shake the feeling that the Vorn were watching, waiting to see what they would do. And he was right. Hidden among the asteroids, Vorn ships observed the activity around the Stellari world with growing interest. "So," growled the Vorn commander, his reptilian features twisted in a sneer, "the peace lovers have found protectors. How unexpected." The launch bay of the Stellari station buzzed with activity as the joint mission prepared to depart. 10 ships, 3 human vessels, and 7 Stellari craft modified for the mission were lined up and ready. Captain Walker stood before the gathered crews, both human and Stellari. "Today we face a threat unlike any the Stellari have seen before, but we face it together. Remember your training and watch out for each other." The teams boarded their ships and launched toward the asteroid field. Walker commanded the EDF Defender, with Elia joining as the Stellari liaison. Reed led a second team on the Guardian while Ross took charge of the demolition efforts on the Protector. As they approached the outer edge of the asteroid field, Walker addressed the fleet. "Reed's team will deploy the first gravity tethers on the smaller asteroids. Ross, your team stands by for the demolition phase. All ships, stay alert for any sign of Vorn activity." The mission began smoothly. Reed's team attached the first gravity tether to a medium-sized asteroid. The device hummed to life, creating a focused gravitational field that would slowly pull the rock off its course. "Tether 1 is active," Reed reported, moving to the next target. Back on the Defender, Walker and Elia monitored the operation. The Stellari scientist watched in fascination as the humans worked with practiced efficiency. "Your people are very good at this," she noted. "You work together like parts of a single machine." Walker smiled slightly. "That's what happens when you train for emergencies. Earth has faced its share of disasters. We've learned to cooperate quickly when needed." Over the next 6 hours, Reed's team successfully deployed all 10 gravity tethers. The smaller asteroids were now slowly being pulled away from their collision course with the Stellari homeworld. "Phase 1 complete," Walker announced. "Now for the hard part. Ross, you're up. The demolition phase was more dangerous. Ross and her team would need to land on the largest asteroids and plant nuclear charges at precise locations. The Stellari volunteers looked nervous as they prepared for their first spacewalk. "Stay close to your human partners," Ross instructed the blue-skinned aliens. "These rocks are unstable, and one wrong step could send you floating off into space." The first 3 charges were placed without incident. Ross was impressed by how quickly the Stellari learned, despite their lack of experience with such missions. "You're doing great," she told a Stellari named Krell as they worked on the 4th asteroid. "Just remember to check your tether every—" A sudden alarm cut her off. Walker's voice came through the comm system. "All teams, we have incoming, multiple ships approaching from the far side of the asteroid field. Profiles match Vorn vessels." Ross looked at Krell. "We need to speed this up. No time for perfect placement now." Across the field, Reed's team was moving to deploy backup gravity tethers when 3 Vorn ships appeared around a large asteroid. They were angular, dark vessels with visible weapon ports along their hulls. "Reed to Defender," he called. "We have visual on Vorn ships. They're heading toward the inner asteroids, the ones we haven't reached yet." On the Defender, Walker made a quick decision. "All ships with charges already deployed pull back to a safe distance. Everyone else continue your mission but be prepared to evacuate on my command." One of the Stellari captains protested, "But the remaining asteroids will still hit our world if we don't—" "We can't help your planet if we're destroyed," Walker cut in. "Trust me, Captain." The largest Vorn ship approached the Defender, and a harsh voice came through the communication system. "This is Commander Drac of the Vorn Dominion," it growled. "You interfere in a matter that does not concern you humans. The Stellari weakness has earned them this test. Leave now or be destroyed with them." Elia looked at Walker, her large eyes wide with fear. "They admit it. They're testing us." Walker activated the comm. "Vorn Commander, this is Captain Walker of the Earth Defense Force. The Stellari are under our protection. Your test ends now." A harsh laugh came in response. "Protection? 3 small ships against our fleet? You are either brave or foolish, human." "Maybe both," Walker replied. Then he switched to the fleet channel. "All ships with charges in place detonate on my mark." Ross and her team were just clearing the last asteroid when the order came. "Charges ready, Captain. We're moving to safe distance." 3, 2, 1, mark, Walker commanded. Across the asteroid field, 5 nuclear charges detonated simultaneously. The explosions were precisely calculated, breaking the massive rocks into smaller pieces that would burn up in the Stellari atmosphere or miss the planet entirely. The shock waves from the blasts rocked the Vorn ships, catching them by surprise. Commander Drac's angry voice filled the comm again. "You dare attack us?" "We didn't attack you," Walker responded calmly. "We're just solving a problem. But we can target you directly if you prefer." On the Defender's tactical display, Walker could see the remaining Vorn ships regrouping. They outnumbered the human vessels, but the humans had demonstrated their willingness to use powerful weapons, something the Vorn respected. Reed's voice came through the comm. "Captain, we still have 3 major asteroids unaddressed. If we don't deal with them now, they'll hit the planet in less than 2 days." Walker looked at Elia. "We need a diversion to finish the job." Elia had been watching and learning from the humans. Though the violence troubled her, she understood what was at stake. "What do you need from me?" "Can you help Reed modify the remaining gravity tethers to work as defensive shields? Something to buy us time against the Vorn weapons?" Elia thought, for a moment. Yes, I believe we can reverse the field to repel instead of attract." Walker nodded. "Do it. Ross, get your team ready for the final 3 placements." The next hour was chaos. The Defender engaged the Vorn ships directly, drawing their fire while the Guardian protected Reed and Elia as they modified the gravity tethers. The Protector sneaked behind the battle with Ross's team to reach the remaining asteroids. The Vorn commander was furious. "You cannot win this, humans. We are warriors. You are nothing." Walker remained calm. "We're not trying to win a war, Commander. We're just trying to save a planet. The modified gravity tethers worked better than expected. When deployed around the human ships, they created distortion fields that made the Vorn weapons less effective. This gave Ross the time she needed to plant the final charges. "All charges placed, Captain," Ross reported. "Beginning evacuation now." But as her team returned to their ship, a Vorn vessel broke through the defensive line and fired directly at them. The shot struck near their position, sending 2 team members, 1 human and 1 Stellari, tumbling into space. Without hesitation, Ross secured a tether to her suit and launched herself after them. She caught the human first, then used the momentum to reach the Stellari. With both in tow, she signaled for emergency retrieval. Back on the Defender, Walker saw that the final moment had come. "All ships clear the detonation zone now. Charges will detonate in 30 seconds. As the fleet pulled back, the Vorn ships faced a choice: continue the attack or retreat. Seeing the humans' determination and the effectiveness of their weapons, Commander Drack made his decision. "This test is concluded," he announced coldly. "Your interference has been noted, humans." The Vorn ships turned and accelerated away from the asteroid field. Moments later, the final charges detonated, breaking apart the last 3 giant asteroids. Walker watched the tactical display as the fragments dispersed. None would hit the Stellari homeworld with enough force to cause major damage. "We did it," Ilya whispered, her voice filled with wonder. "You saved our world." Walker shook his head. "No. We saved it together." As the fleet regrouped and began the journey back to the Stellari station, Walker knew this was just the beginning. The Vorn would return someday and the Stellari would need to be ready. But for now they had won a victory that neither species could have achieved alone. 3 days after the mission, the Stellari capital city was filled with celebration. Beautiful lights floated in the air, music played from hidden speakers, and the normally reserved Stellari openly expressed their joy. They had survived what should have been the end of their civilization. In the grand hall of the council building, a formal ceremony was taking place. The human crews stood in a line facing the Stellari Council. Captain Walker, Reed, Ross, and the other key team members were at the center. Many wore bandages or showed other signs of their recent battle, but all stood tall with pride. Master Vel addressed the gathering. "For thousands of years, the Stellari have pursued knowledge, art, and harmony. We believed that violence was behind us. That reason would always prevail. We were wrong." The old Stellari looked at the humans with genuine respect. "Sometimes the universe requires defenders, those willing to stand against threats that cannot be reasoned with. Today we honor those who came to our aid when we could not defend ourselves." Ambassador Trell stepped forward, carrying a crystal sculpture that caught the light in dazzling patterns. "This is the Star of Gratitude, our highest honor. Never before has it been given to non-Stellari." He presented it to Walker. "With this gift, we acknowledge our debt to humanity." Walker accepted the sculpture with a slight bow. "Thank you, Ambassador. But we did what anyone would do when they hear a call for help." Trell smiled in the Stellari way, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "Not anyone, Captain. You." After the ceremony, the humans and Stellari gathered for a feast. The 2 species couldn't share food. Their biology was too different. But they shared the space and the moment. Conversations flowed freely, with humans eager to learn about Stellari culture and the Stellari fascinated by Earth stories. Reed sat with Elia, comparing notes on the gravity tether technology they had developed together. "We could improve the design," Elia suggested, sketching on a small pad. "Make it more stable with better range." Reed nodded. "And more power efficient. It could have all sorts of applications beyond defense." Across the room, Ross was demonstrating Earth hand gestures to a group of curious Stellari, who tried to copy them with their forearms, creating much laughter. Walker stood with Director Green, who had arrived from Earth the day before on a diplomatic vessel. They watched the interactions with satisfaction. "Quite a success, Captain," Green said. "Not just saving their planet, but establishing first contact with a peaceful, advanced civilization. And revealing the threat of the Vorn, Walker added. We need to know more about them. This may not be the last time we face them. Green nodded. That's partly why I'm here. The Earth Council has authorized me to offer the Stellari a formal alliance. We can help them develop defensive systems, and they can share their scientific knowledge with us. Later that evening, Walker and Green met with the Stellari Council to discuss the future. The mood was serious despite the celebrations happening outside. The Vorn will return, Walker said, plainly. Their kind always does. They saw your world as easy prey because you had no defenses. Next time you need to be ready. Some council members looked uncomfortable, but Master Vel nodded. We understand this now. Our philosophy of total peace made us vulnerable. But we do not wish to become a warrior society like the Vorn. You don't have to, Green assured them. Earth's history has taught us that the best defense is to be strong enough that others think twice before attacking you. Strength can preserve peace. Trell spread his forearms. But we know nothing of weapons or defensive systems. Our ships are not built for conflict. That's why we're offering an alliance, Green explained. We can help you develop what you need, not to conquer or threaten, but to protect. Elia, who had been invited to the meeting due to her role in the mission, spoke up. There is wisdom in this. Our science can be adapted. The same gravity tethers that saved us from asteroids can become shields. We can learn to protect ourselves without losing who we are. After hours of discussion, the Stellari Council agreed to the alliance. Earth would help them build defensive systems and train them in their use, while the Stellari would share their advanced scientific knowledge, particularly in medicine, materials, and faster-than-light travel. As the meeting concluded, Trell approached Walker privately. There is something else you should know, Captain. Since news of your actions spread, we have received messages from 3 other peaceful species in nearby systems. They too have faced threats from aggressive neighbors. They ask if Earth's protection might extend to them as well. Walker was surprised. They've heard about us already? Trell nodded. News travels quickly between advanced civilizations. You have given hope to many who, like us, chose peace, but found themselves vulnerable in a universe that is not always peaceful. The next morning, as the human ships prepared to return to Earth, Walker found Elia waiting near the docking bay. She carried a small device. A gift, she said, handing it to him. It contains star maps of all known systems within 100 light-years, including information about the species that inhabit them. It should help you find your way as you venture further from your home. Walker accepted it with gratitude. Thank you. And what will you do now? I have been appointed to lead the new Defense Science Division, she said with a mix of pride and uncertainty. It seems my work with you has given me a new path. You'll do well, Walker assured her. Just remember what we learned together. Strength isn't about destruction. It's about having the power to protect what matters. As the Earth ships departed, Walker looked back at the beautiful blue-green planet they had saved. Earth had taken its first steps into a larger community of worlds, not as conquerors or traders, but as protectors. In the months that followed, Earth signed formal alliance treaties with 5 peaceful species, including the Stellari. The Earth Defense Force expanded, building new ships and training personnel from all allied worlds. They called it the Galactic Defense Initiative. News of this alliance reached the Vorn and other aggressive species. Some scoffed at the idea of warriors, protecting the weak. Others became more cautious, less willing to test the defenses of worlds now under human protection. A year after the Stellari mission, Walker, now Admiral Walker, stood on the bridge of the EDF Peacekeeper, the first ship built with combined human and Stellari technology. Beside him stood Elia, now his official liaison and friend. Ready for the next mission? She asked as they prepared to respond to another distress call, this time from a world facing a natural disaster. Walker smiled. Always. That's what we do now. When someone calls for help, humanity answers. And across the stars, the message spread. If you are peaceful but threatened, if you face destruction but cannot fight, call Earth. The humans will come. They remember what many have forgotten. Sometimes to preserve peace, you must be ready for war.